Pleasure to be here. And yes, I'm an author, children's author. I now have three books published over in the UK. First one was Paws. Second one was The Bravest Word, which we're going to talk about today. And the third one, which was just out a few weeks ago, was Harriet Hound. So it's very exciting to have all of these books out there in the UK for you guys to read, because I actually live in Australia, even though I am English and I grew up and lived in England for 35 years. I moved to Australia 10 years ago, and now I live on a beautiful sunny Gold Coast with lots of golden sandy beaches with my family and my second-hand dogs. So today was not very sunny, mind you. It was very stormy, but that's a big part of living in Australia. It's very tropical in the summer. So thank you again for coming. So yes, today we're going to talk about my second book that was published called The Bravest Word. Now, The Bravest Word is a very personal story. It is a story about a boy called Matt who has recently started high school. He's only been there a few months. And Matt is a great kid. He's got some great friends. He's really sporty. He does quite well at school. And he's just an all-around happy kid. He's got a wonderful mum and dad and a really good life. But since he started high school, he's been feeling a bit different. Things have changed. He doesn't want to do soccer anymore. He doesn't want to hang out with his friends. He's finding his schoolwork super hard. He's not sleeping very well. He doesn't really have an appetite. But he hasn't got a clue what's happening, what's different, and why he's behaving this way, because he's got just a great life, hasn't he? So this is a story about a boy who basically goes on a journey to figure out why he's feeling the way he is, and realizing that to get to the bottom of how he's feeling and to try and fix it, he has to ask people to support him. So it's called The Bravest Word. And I'm not sure if any of you can guess what the bravest word is, but for Matt and for this story, it's help, because a lot of us sometimes don't have the confidence or the knowledge to ask for help. And actually asking for help, I think, is an incredibly courageous thing to do, because it shows that we're vulnerable and that we need other people to support us. So I will read you the back very quickly, and then I will get on to reading some bits from the book, which hopefully you'll enjoy. So here is the back cover. Matt is a football superstar. He can handle anything. Except lately his chest feels empty and his head is screaming. He can't concentrate in school or enjoy football anymore, and he is so tired. When Matt stumbles across an abandoned dog, there's no doubt in his mind that he has to save him. But maybe the dog isn't the only one who needs help. So there you go. What do you think of the cover? Isn't it lovely? When I first saw that cover, I was just, this is gorgeous. So there are some amazing people that work in book publishing who get to do this kind of thing as their job. And I'm always in awe of the incredible things that they do. So is everybody ready if I read a little bit to you? Hope so. So sit back and enjoy, and I will read you some little bits from The Bravest Word. So this is chapter 1. I can't do this. I can't do this, but it's happening. I am doing this. I'm following my teammates onto the pitch and watching my orange boots, brand new for the brand new season, take step after step across the short grass. I wish I could stop, spin around and run home. I can't pick out their voices from all the shouting and cheering and referees' whistles in the other matches surrounding the central pitch, the pitch I play on, reserved for the best teams. But I know my parents are yelling encouragement from their usual spot on the clubhouse veranda with all the other parents, and Mum's voice will be the loudest of all. Even though this is only a friendly pre-season game, how can I possibly let her down again? I stumble forward as Joseph shoves me in the shoulder. We've got to smash this team today, Matt, he says. I fake a laugh. Definitely, I reply. His toothy grin drops and his expression turns into a snarl. Joseph's a pretty good midfielder, but we're not friends or anything. I've known him since primary school, but since we started high school last month, He's been hanging around with loads more girls and a horrible bunch who pick on people. As for his pick row account, it's mainly people swearing and arguing and talking trash to anyone who doesn't agree with their opinions. He's got his reasons, but still, it's not a nice way to use social media. Look at that massive kid, he points. There's no way he's an under 12. My eyes follow his muddy finger, even though I do not want to look, because I've already seen the boy he's talking about. But, like I always do, I swallow down what I'd prefer to do, what I want to do, and check out our opposition warming up, and the tall striker who looks like he visits the gym every day. We've played this team before, but I don't remember him from last season. He's either new or he's doubled in size. His white and blue striped jersey with the black number 9 on the back rides up as he lurches to head the ball away. Truth is, I know I'm a better football player than him, but it's like my brain doesn't care about any of that right now, like it doesn't believe it. As a defender, it's my job to hassle the strikers, mark them tight so I can take them out of the game. I know for a fact I'll end up marking him. I always go up against the toughest or the fastest players because Stu, my coach, is convinced I can handle anything. I used to be able to, but not anymore. I can't tell anyone this. It's embarrassing. Me, player of the year for the past 2 years, my mum's pride and joy. Nope, no way, never. I mean, I tried mentioning something to Dad a few weeks ago, but Mum butted in on the conversation, telling me I'm the best and no one will ever get past me. To stop being so silly. My mum is all about getting on with things, it's her way. And I am being silly, but there are other things too. Oh, other things I've noticed over the last couple of months. The way my chest tightens all the time and my stomach dive bombs. The way I'm always forgetting what I'm in the middle of doing. The way I don't like any of the things I used to do. Football, gaming, hanging out with my mates. And how tired I feel all the time. So tired. I wish I knew why. I can't figure out what's changed. Right, sit down, boys. I startle at Stu's voice, my heart pounding fast rhythm, faster even than before, as I realise my team have reached our bench. Settle down, sit. I need to listen to Stu. I have to keep away from my thoughts. I perch on the edge of the wooden slats in the corner of our shelter, focusing on my clenched fists that rest on my knees and pressing my soles into the floor right through my tight boots. Right, big game today. Last friendly before the season kicks off. We need our heads out of the clouds. No more than 2 touches each. Stu rambles on with the same team talk we have before every match. One I'm so familiar with, I could recite it myself. But my concentration is moving away, no matter how hard I try to take in his words. The harder I try to listen, the more my brain rebels. And I'm thinking about everything and nothing all at the same time. But mostly I'm thinking about ways to get out of playing this match. The logical part of my brain tells me to toughen up, as Mum would say. I can't do this. I can't do this. Matt, are you listening? I nod, concentrating on Stu's face again. He frowns at me and rubs a hand over his head before putting his red Whaleview Soccer Club cap back on. Okay, we need world-class Matt on the pitch today. Got it? Not the Matt we've had in the last matches. My cheeks burn red hot, and I don't miss the chuckles from some of my teammates, including a weird huff growl from Joseph. I glance over at Ted, my best mate, and he gives me a nod and a thumbs up. I look away, not really sure if I smiled at him, even though I meant to, and I nod to Stu again. Got it, coach, I reply, mustering whatever confidence I can into my voice. Straighten out that head of yours and let's win this, Stu says. I nod again, wishing and begging the attention to move away from me. He eyeballs me for a moment longer with those sharp, light blue eyes, and then claps once, loud and firm, startling me again. My breath catches, but I turn it into a throat clear and then clap and chant with the rest of the Wales under-12's A squad, the unstoppable 3-time champions, 3 years in a row. And now it's too late. I'm going out on the pitch and playing the game, whether I like it or not. This moment used to be my favourite. The buzz, the adrenaline, the apprehension. I don't get why I don't feel this way now. What's changed since last year? I failed to find a way out, and now desperation has lodged in my chest. I jog over to our goal to get in position for the referee's whistle, legs feeling like they're going to give way any second. Ted pats my shoulder as he runs past into his left back position. You okay? He asks, jogging backwards, his black curls bouncing up and down. Yeah, cool, mate, I reply. But it's there, the shake in my voice, the empty feeling in my chest, the screaming in my ears, and the numbness of my limbs. I'm so not cool. I need to straighten out my head, just like Stu said. Ted nods and I watch his red shirt with the number 16 on the back move away. I can't do this. But the whistle screeches and I move forward with the back line, pushing up and out of our goal mouth. My breaths are in effort and pressured, panic charging through me like I've never felt before, burning my skin. It's like my chest is going to explode and my insides splatter on the field. Once again, Mum and Dad pop into my mind, and I swear this time I can hear Mum shrieking my name. I can't do this. I need to get off this pitch now. Their midfield has the ball. They're passing quick, one touch, then pass, moving all the time, keeping my teammates working hard, calling instructions, warning each other. I vaguely register Stu bellowing my name, and I know what he wants me to do without having to hear his command. So I draw up all I have from the pit of my belly and charge towards the number 9 striker. The kid shoves his arm across me, his elbows high and hard and digging into my chest and shoulder as he tries to muscle me out of the way. He calls for the ball, but it sounds weird in my ears. I screw up my face and wince. Everything's muffled and low, like I'm underwater. My heart's going so fast I can't even feel it, and I honestly don't think I'm breathing. Next thing I know, I'm on the ground, flat on my back, staring up at the crystal blue sky, not a cloud in sight. I'm so hot. I hear a whistle, voices, words, my name, but I close my eyes and flop onto my side, my head spinning. You all right, son? I open my eyes and stare into the gaze of an old grey-haired man, the referee. He's got his hand on my arm and I can see it, but I can't feel it for some reason. Did you get an elbow to the head, son? He asks. I think I reply. I mean, I can feel my mouth move, but I have no idea what I say. Matt, what's happened? It's Ted, and he then helps the referee get me to my feet. And again, I think I'm talking, but it's like my voice isn't mine. Back on my feet, I walk, but it feels more like I'm floating, like I'm not actually here and having some kind of out-of-body experience. I don't remember how, but now I'm sitting on the team bench, head between my knees. I feel sick. I don't know what's going to happen. I stumble, my chest doing that tight thing again. I want it to stop. I go through the gap in the fence bordering the pitch, and then I trip and I fall onto my front. I'm so dizzy. I shut my eyes. I don't know how long I lie here. Hey, Matthew, it's okay. I'm here. And now I smile, maybe only on the inside, but I feel relief at the sound of Dad's deep, gentle voice. I don't hear Mum, but I'm pleased about that right now. She's probably disappointed seeing me leave the pitch before I've even touched the ball. The other friendlies we've played, I pretended to feel ill, or I feigned an injury halfway through. That must be such a letdown. Now that I'm overcoming the sick feeling, I feel shame and horrible embarrassment. But I know deep down, as I listen to Dad telling me it's okay and that it doesn't matter, as he helps me across the football fields to the car, that if I hadn't been sick, if I hadn't fallen over, I'd have done something else to get out of playing today. I said I couldn't do it, and I don't think I'll ever be able to do it again. And I'm going to read you one more little section, which is in chapter 3, and then I'm going to hand over to Kat. Okay, so I think you're going to like this bit. So Matt is going to go for a walk with his dad. Let's see what happens. Dad parks and shuts down the engine of his truck, plunging us into a soft quiet. He looks across at me. All good? He asks. Yeah, all good, I reply. Come on then. We haven't taken a bushwalk together for ages. Dad opens the door and hops out, and I copy, plopping 2 feet onto the gravel with a crunch. I close the truck door and check the small square car park again. It's still empty except for Dad's truck. No one else here, thank goodness. I shake my head at my silliness. The best thing about Hayden Lake National Park is that hardly anyone comes up here this early in the morning, other than the odd old person and maybe a few runners. The sun still sits fairly low, a yellow-white haze stretching from its core across the blue sky, and I have to admit that the world looks pretty Disney right now. Dad comes round to my side. and together our flip-flop feet stroll side by side through the iron gate and onto the pathway that leads through the rainforest walk. Got the seeds for the ducks and swans? Dad asks. I pat my pocket, the paper bag crinkling beneath my palm. Yep, and the cornflakes for me. I loved snacking on dry cornflakes, something my granddad got me into. Dad chuckles. Nice. I'm surprised you're not full up from all that porridge you ate this morning. After not eating much yesterday, I was actually hungry this morning. It's warm already, but the trees create a light speckled roof above us and bring a coolness to my neck and face. The birds chirp their good mornings as we pass, flitting from branch to branch, and bushes and leaves rustle as unseen creatures scarper, probably thinking we're coming for them, as if we would. I love animals, and Dad does too. I suck in deep breaths, feeling pretty okay today after yesterday's embarrassing nightmare. Mum was up and out first thing today working. She cuts hair for private clients some Sundays. Me and Dad were up early too, so Dad suggested a walk, maybe a kickabout. But I deliberately, accidentally forgot the ball though, so a walk it is. You're feeling better today then? Dad asks, eyeing the path at his feet. I nod, yeah, I say it with a weird hiccup laugh like it's a joke, but who am I kidding? I glance sideways and see Dad nod, sliding the long stick he carries in the back of the truck through the leaves and rocks that border the bumpy path. I'm clearly not kidding him, that's for sure. You know, it's okay if you want to talk about anything, Dad says, tapping the stick on the base of a tree trunk. I'm pretty good at listening. It's true. Dad's a man of few words, as Mum calls him, which always leads to her telling everyone that's why they're so perfect for each other, chalk and cheese. I don't think I've ever heard Dad even raise his voice in my whole life. I suppose I could mention a few things to him now. After all, Mum isn't here to interrupt and take over the conversation or tell me how I should feel. I nibble the inside of my bottom lip, not knowing what to say or where to even start. I don't want to upset Dad. I I can't. I run a hand through my floppy hair, a gentle breeze stroking my cheeks. No rush, mate. We've got a 3 kilometre trek ahead of us. Dad grins and winks, scratching his head. I roll my eyes. 3 kilometres? And I already have the most achy legs in the whole of Queensland. Why did I agree to do this again? Oh, right, yeah. Agreeing was a way to make up for yesterday's football episode. No, I don't think I can talk to Dad. I'm worried about how he'll react if he knows all the things going on in my head. And then he too will be ashamed of me, like Mum. If she is, I mean, it's so hard to tell with her. And anyway, I don't really know how to describe what I'm feeling or put my finger on what's wrong exactly. I sigh and change the subject, scanning the thick rainforest stretching into the distance. And then I spot something moving up ahead, and my footsteps falter. I peek at Dad. He's noticed it too. What is it? I ask, looking straight ahead again. I don't know, he says. We slow down, the trees seeming to hold their breath along with me, emptying the air completely. I squint and try to make out what it is. It's hard to see as the dark shape blends into the brown of the trunks and sticks, but I see it move, just slightly, but definitely a movement. My eyes widen. Do you think it's a possum? Or a koala? Dad places his hand on my arm and raises his stick out in front of him. We creep forward, both of us careful not to scare it. Brush turkey? Snake? I know it's neither of those. We inch closer. The fact it isn't running away is ringing all kinds of alarm bells. I'm not the most knowledgeable about native wildlife, but I do know most creatures will hide the minute they know there are predators approaching. Oh, I think it's injured, I whisper, a strange panic boiling up in my throat. I cannot handle a nearly dead animal or bird. Anything like that would etch permanently into my brain and heart. We're close now, maybe even a few meters away, and then it shuffles again. It knows we're here, I say. A small head lifts and I freeze completely. It's a dog. That's it. Not going to read anymore. Over to Kat.
Oh, amazing. I want to know everything that happened. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't get in until a little bit late, but my name's Kat Williams from Building Your Confidence Limited, and I'm loving that story already. So please do put any questions that you have in the chat for Kate. I've got some here prepared. And I really want to say, first of all, I hope you all loved that expert. How exciting. So many emotions in there. I was feeling myself very, Well, feeling a lot of emotions actually, and feeling quite tearful on his behalf at times, and excited to find out the difference that meeting the dog obviously makes. So let me ask you first then, Kate, what was the inspiration behind the Bravest Word? Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, of course. So I mentioned at the beginning that it's a very personal story. So the story is about depression. Um, and when we say the word depression, people get so scared. They're like, oh, we can't talk about that. That's enormous. That's massive. That's scary. Let's not talk about it. And I think that's a big problem because if we talk about feelings, if we talk about depression, we can actually do something about it. So I suffer with depression, and basically, it's a big sadness that you feel, a big heaviness and an emptiness that doesn't go away. It doesn't matter how wonderful your day may have been, of all the good things that are happening to you. Depression is an illness in your head that tells you that everything's terrible and you're terrible and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And you start to stop trying to be friends with people because you feel like you're annoying them. And so many things like that that just don't make sense. And for some reason, we all get too scared to talk about this. And the frightening thing is, as well, that a lot of grown-ups actually say things like, well, children don't really get depressed, but they do. And I think sometimes if we talk to children who get depressed, we can help them before they grow up. And so that they have all these amazing skills and tools to learn how to deal with it as they get older and who they can reach out to and who they feel safe with to ask for help. So the bravest word is very much a real story. It's about how I discovered that I needed to ask for help for my depression, and also for a lot of people I know who also struggle to ask for help for theirs.
Amazing. And I think a personal question of mine is, we don't want to sort of ruin the end necessarily, because hopefully everyone will read it. But what does happen? What's the journey with, in the relationship between Matt and the dog and Cliff? Cliff, he's called. Is that right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, the dog that he finds. So yeah, I won't spoil it too much for you. Um, because it is a lovely journey that he goes on. But Matt finds the dog, as I just read to you, in the middle of a forest. And sadly, the dog's been abandoned, he's been left there. So Matt decides at that particular moment that he has to help this dog. He's the only person in the world that can help this dog. And he's going to prove to this dog that humans are lovely and that they are wonderful. And he's going to do everything in his power. So eventually, he is allowed to look after the dog. But through the dog, Matt learns that he needs help. That the dog also is suffering, and Matt's helping the dog, but who's helping Matt? So he, through his journey through the book, learns to find that courage and that confidence inside to finally say the words, I think I'm depressed, I need help. And so it's a huge moment. And he actually finds that once he does say those words, that lots and lots of people are just so proud, and they start sharing their experiences and they start sharing their mental health challenges and some things that have happened to them. So it's an amazing way in real life as well to open yourself up to connections with new people by sharing how you feel. We should never be ashamed of any of the feelings and changes that happen to us. So I promise I never write books with sad endings.
Oh, amazing. And I love the message you've said there, that it's such a gift to help each other. And we can
Mm,
only help people that have the courage, like you say, to say, I'd like help. And I always had to put it like that. What a gift, isn't it? It's such a gift to be asked to help. You're like, of course, I'd love to help you. Thank you so much for asking. Like, it
yeah.
really is that gift to be able to support each other. And I think the message you said there as well, we feel the relief when we say, actually, I need help, and so does the other person, to say, okay, thank you for saying that, because then they feel they can say it too and say, well, funnily enough, I'd like your help with this, and you'd like my help with that,
Yeah.
and it's such a win-win. So as I love a win-win, how I call it. So I love that. We're all, and I think the message as well, we can all feel different at times. Every emotion is okay, and the more that we can say, I feel everything and everything's okay, and sometimes it's high and sometimes it's low, and sometimes I feel different. We all have different ways of feeling different. That makes us all the same, and all of our emotions are worthy, and okay. So
Yeah.
all the
Oh,
rainbow of emotions.
absolutely. And that's one thing I always say whenever I visit schools, because I love to visit schools and chat with kids all around the world. And one of the things I always say to kids is there's no such thing as a wrong emotion, that there's just that doesn't exist. So
Yeah,
if you're feeling sad or jealous or filled with anger, that's not wrong. Because if that's how you feel, if that's your reaction to a situation, then that's how you feel. But it's what you do with it. And if you don't talk about it, and if you try and hide it, then very often what happens is that feeling just gets bigger and bigger and bigger inside us until it just explodes. And nobody wants exploding emotions, thank you very much. So it's
exactly.
better to talk as soon as possible.
Definitely, as I put it, it's like they're telling us something, isn't it? We're feeling
Mm.
something. It's like it's communicating. What's this trying to tell me? So the sooner we can go, oh, I'm gonna sort of figure out what this is telling me and tell someone else and try and figure this out. Like you say, then it doesn't need to get louder. It doesn't need to get bigger because we've said, I'm feeling this. I love that. I am aware. I just want to say to Lexi, I'm not seeing any questions coming in, so I don't know if Lexi is, or if you are, Kate, but I don't know if it's how the tech is. I can't see any. So forgive me if there are them there and I'm not seeing them. So I'll carry on with some of mine until I hear any others. I'm really curious about, was it difficult, I guess, to decide on the title? Did you go through kind of, what am I going to call this? And so how did you sort of decide on that title?
Actually, the title probably came first, because I had already been through my own experiences of trying to understand how I was feeling. And when I did finally talk to somebody and say, I need some help. I felt brave. I felt like I had finally kind of dug really deep to find all of this courage and this bravery. And I kind of sat back later that day, so relieved. It was amazing just to have taken that very first step to admit that I wasn't myself and that I needed other people to help me get better. And so the words, yeah, so the title, The Bravest Word, really came before I sat down and wrote the story. Um, and I think it works. I think it's the best title that it could be.
Completely, I completely agree. It is definitely the bravest word to say help and to say this is how I'm feeling, and yeah, amazing. And when did you know you wanted to be an author, I suppose? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, of course. Oh gosh, what a long journey it's been. I've always wanted to be an author since I was little, and I actually remember the first story I ever wrote, or at least I think it was probably the first story I ever wrote. I was about 4, so I was teeny weeny. But I'd worked all day so hard on this story. It was called Monty Mouse, and he went on some adventures, and I'd spent a whole day, writing these stories and drawing the illustrations, and I had a front cover and a back cover. I was so proud of this book. So I ran into the lounge and I showed my mum and dad, and I was like, "Look, I've made a book!" And they said, "Congratulations, you're an author!" And I was so proud. And then I showed my big brother. And Big Brother was not as proud. Big Brother said, "Oh, that's rubbish." Um, and so I kind of thought, well, I'm not going to write any more stories now, or I'm going to not share them with people. And so, yeah, from a very young age, I wanted to be a writer. But for most of my life, I didn't think somebody like me could be one. I grew up on a council estate in Kent, a very working class family, beautiful family, obviously mum, dad, and a big brother, who we're very good friends now, so it's all good. But I didn't think people like us became authors. That was a job for rich people, only people with lots of time and big mansions. with slippers, would sitting in front of a fire, would do things like write books. So it wasn't really until I got older that I again began to find confidence and courage, and thought, I think my stories are quite important. I think people do want to read them. So that's how I took that step. But it took me a very, very long time to actually decide that this is what I was going to do.
And I love that message in that there as well. That I feel similar, that sort of that kind of light, or that little buzz of, what we care about, never quite goes away, does it? And we sort of have to then just finally listen to it and going, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And for me, I might share a little bit of my story in a minute, but I was always a natural performer as a child, but didn't have the confidence as well. I was kind of, but now I actually stand on stages and kind of go, I like to be here. It's not always easy, but there was that little thing that said, you can do this, you can do this. So I think
Yeah.
for everyone that's listening, that little voice that, tells you what you enjoy and what you care about, keep listening to it, whether it's running, singing, music, writing, whatever it is, keep listening, because I think it knows, it's wise,
Yeah.
isn't it? That little voice is wise. We've
Most
got some lovely
definitely.
questions coming in, which is amazing. So someone else had asked about, did you want to be a writer when growing up? And you've asked that, answered that. And from Smallwood Primary School, we have, what breed is the dog? We have a few questions here. And out of your books, which is your favourite?
Mm.
And yes, and then the one being answered now. So we've got two questions. What breed is the dog? And out of your books, which is your favourite?
So Cliff, the dog, he is, and actually Cliff was my dad's name. So I had to call the dog Cliff after my dad, who was the most wonderful man in the whole world. But Cliff is actually a mixed breed. So he isn't just a Chihuahua or a poodle or anything like that. He's a mix of dogs. So they don't really know what he is when they find him. And the vets, when they take Cliff to the vets, because obviously that's the first thing they have to do to make sure he's going to be okay, because he's not very well, and he's going to be okay, so it's fine. But they take him, yeah, they take him to the vets, and the vet says, "Oh, look, we can actually do a blood test to see what breeds he is." And Matt decides it doesn't matter. He's a dog, and I love him, so we don't actually find out what breed Cliff is, because he's just a mixture of lots. He's just a beautiful little dog. So that's that one. Oh my gosh. Out of my books, which is my favorite? That's a really cruel question. Who asked that? Naughty you. How could I pick? Um, Oh, I think it would have to be Paws if I had to pick. And that's really hard because I actually love all of my books because they're all like my little babies. As an author, you spend so much time with your characters and your stories that you just fall in love with them. So Paws, I think, has to be my favorite book because it was the first book I ever sat down to properly write that was incredibly personal to me, because it's actually based on me and my son. We're kind of like the two of us together are in the main character, Alex. And it's a story about a little autistic boy who is about to graduate primary school and head off to high school. But he doesn't have a human friend. And he thinks if he's got a friend, then that transition into high school is going to be absolutely fine, because he's actually quite terrified of change, which is the way it is for a lot of autistic people. So Alex comes up with this foolproof plan to make a friend. Obviously, it's not foolproof, and it goes really, really badly. But Alex has a best friend already, who is Kevin the Cockapoo. And Kevin, well, he's got his own little plan going on about how he's going to get Alex to make friends with somebody. So this is a very personal book because it's filled with real experiences that I have had and my son has had. So we're both autistic. It's just warm and wholesome and all about friendship and just treating people with respect and kindness. So yes, I'm very proud of Paws. That's a
I
good
love,
question, but a cruel question.
I love the challenge of that cruel question. So we've probably got about 10 more minutes for questions. We've got some more there, and then I will be wrapping up just because I'm aware of the time. But I love how this blends in. So someone has asked, why did you choose to use a dog to help Matt rather than another human? And I guess my question as well is, because I don't know all of your books, are there animals or even dogs in every book? But that's a sideline question.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, dogs are my special interest. I love dogs. I have 2 rescue dogs, and if I had my way, I'd probably have 25 rescue dogs, but that hasn't happened yet. It's my dream to have, yeah, to run a dog sanctuary. But I find that because I write about friendships and I write about family and I write about love, and the love that we have is through all the different relationships in our life and being kind to one another. And I find that dogs are at the core of so many of these wonderful topics. Dogs show us how to be amazing family members. They're always there for us, no matter how horrible we feel, what kind of day we've had. A dog loves you and they cannot wait to see you at the end of the day. They teach you, yeah, the wiggly bottom and the excitement. Oh, you could have gone out for 2 minutes and they'll be so excited that you've come back. But they just show you how they're there for you, no matter how you're feeling. And I think that we could learn so much from dogs, and how they are with us. The very basics of just being there for somebody. Sometimes you don't have to talk. Sometimes you don't have to say the right things. You can just be there for someone, just sit with them and hold their hand or whatever it might be. So dogs pretty much turn up. I mean, look at the number of dogs in that one. There is dogs in pretty much all of my books. So yeah, but saying that, there are other humans in the Bravest Word who help Matt as well. It's the dog that makes him realize that he needs help. So it's the dog and humans as well.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah. So
And I don't have dogs. We absolutely love dogs, but I have 2 cats that I do feel that they're a similar sort of message to me. They're just relaxed. They're just themselves. They're funny. They're in one place in the house 1 minute, and they for me feel that same message of just kind of acceptance, freedom, doing their own thing. And I like, they remind me, that sometimes it doesn't matter, just rest and chill. And I think if the cat can rest, then so can I. And if they can just accept themselves, no matter what color and shape and all of that they are, then so can we. So
yeah, totally.
And what was the first book that you wrote has come in as well? And how many books have you written?
Okay, so I have written probably about 25 books altogether, but they're not all published and they won't probably all be published. So a lot of writing as an author is writing as practice, because like with anything that you do, when you do sports, when you do maths class, the more you do, the more you practice, the better you get, the stronger you get. So a lot of books that I wrote before Paws, which was my very first book, were me practicing, were me really learning how to be a writer, and what works in my stories. So Paws was the first book, and then we had The Bravest Word, and then we had Harriet Hound. They're the 3 books which you have in the UK. I have written lots of other books which are published here in Australia and also in America. So there's another book called The Unlikely Heroes Club. Another book that you can get in the UK actually is Third Time's a Charm, which is from Big Cat Collins. And that one is about a girl doing gymnastics and how her friends come together to help her get through the competition. But I've got loads of books coming as well. So yes, it's I'm not allowed to talk about them. Oh, there's too many secrets in children's books. But there is a question I've just noticed there that I love to answer. Would it be all right if I just answer it?
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of people ask me how long does it take to write a book? So I'm going to tell you that Paws, and if there are any writers in the room, they don't like this answer. Paws took me about 3 weeks to write, which is so fast. So Paws has about 235 pages, 240 pages, something like that. So, and it's pretty much exactly the same as when I first wrote it. So 3 weeks is mega fast, but here is the key point. All of my books I carry in my head and in my life for probably years before I actually sit down to write them. So those stories are always in my head, going round and round and round and round and growing and becoming full scenes and full characters. So by the time I sit down to write, the book's usually ready and I just know exactly what needs to happen. So a lot of writing is actually thinking. So I think that's a really important thing. So when you're staring out the window daydreaming and your teacher or your mum says, stop daydreaming, you could just say, look, I'm actually just thinking about my novel that I'm going to write. So there you go. There's an excuse.
I absolutely agree. Those moments we go in our head are always kind of, are useful in the end, these creative ideas. And just to find, can we get your books in the UK, all of them? Or were you saying that how can we get them all?
Okay, so these three, Paws, The Bravest Word, and Harriet Hound, are all available in the UK. So they are with Walker Books UK. They are in pretty much any bookstore, independent bookstores. You could order them online, Waterstones, WH Smith's. Harriet Hound is available through the works. So there are lots of avenues that you could, or of course, go to your library and borrow the books. The other books are not, they don't actually have English or UK editions. So you can still get them, but they would have to be shipped over from Australia. So all of the books are on my website and all of the books to come will be added. But yeah, any of the others that's not one of these three, you do have to order to be sent from overseas.
And what's your website? Just let us know. I'm trying to look in your book. What's it called?
Yeah, so my website is kfosterbooks.com.
Amazing. All right. I'm going to ask you one final question in about 5 minutes, just as we end, but just to come towards the end now, just because I am aware of time, I think we've answered everything in the chat. Would you agree, Kate? Have you noticed?
Yeah, I think that's most of the questions.
Anything else for you to say on why you wrote the book? But I think, do you feel you fully, I think we've answered.
I think so, yeah. I think just that when I was looking at books about mental health, so books about depression and anxiety, a lot of the books I was finding were about after a person knows that they have depression or that they have anxiety, so they already have a diagnosis. So I was finding all of these books where the characters already knew that there was something that they needed help with, but I couldn't find anything which was before. So all of those things, all of those small signs and things that change in your behavior and how you think, how sometimes that we think it's normal. Oh, everybody else is the same, but actually it's not. So I wanted to write a book about what it's like before you actually realize you have depression. So some of the signs that you can look for in yourself, and also the ways that if we don't have depression, how we can help people who we think might or do have a diagnosis. Because like I said before, sometimes we don't know what to say. Saying things like, "Oh, you'll be okay," that's probably not a good thing to say to someone who has depression. Sometimes you can just be with them, just sit with them, and just say, "Hey, shall we watch TV? Um, shall we go for a walk?" And you don't have to talk. So sometimes just knowing that there's someone there that loves them and supports them, that makes you an amazing friend and support for that person. So, yeah.
It's amazing. And there's lots of thanks in the chat saying exactly that, helping us children, and especially to feel you're not alone with those feelings. And like you say, you can voice them and ask for help. And really the
Thank
theme,
you.
just to say, I feel the way the sentence I like with this is that it's a lot about the story we kind of tell ourselves, how we figure out that story, how we tell others. So just to kind of bring it to a close, the why that I'm here resonates with me very deeply. What you've said, that as a child, I didn't always feel confident or good enough. And so what matters to me, I help people of all ages with their confidence. And that's why I'm a part of this Children Today Reading for Life project. And the aim of the project, as just so people know listening, is to tell the stories, amazing different stories of people with maybe different diversities or issues that they're overcoming or challenges, to help them tell themselves the best possible story that they can to help themselves go forwards. And the children, or the story of children today is really lovely to share really quickly. So about 30 years ago, there was a dad, he was called Hugh, and he had a 9-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy with blue hair, no, blue eyes, maybe blue hair, blue eyes and brown hair. And they live near the seaside going on bikes a lot every day. But this dad realized, well, what about children that maybe have a diversity or a different disability that can't ride a bike quite so easily? You know, we're all different in different ways. So that was his spark, that he realized, I want to help children to have more access to do all of these activities that maybe my children find easy. So he founded this amazing charity that's still going today called Children Today. And it's about getting special equipment like wheelchairs or adapted trikes out to children so everybody can join in as much as possible in those activities that others might find easy and that are not so easy for some. So I wanted to share that story of Hugh that did something amazing, and changed that story into a charity that helps other people. And it's still going today. It's run by parents, and that's why they have brought this project together to say, let's tell lots of stories about lots of different children and people that have overcome all sorts of different things, to hear their voices, to hear their stories. So my final question to Kate that I love to ask everyone at the end of this, if there was anyone watching or listening today that felt that they couldn't sort of take charge of their own story, they didn't have the confidence to see that things are possible that they might dream of, or to be an author or a writer, like, what would you say to someone watching that feels like, oh, I don't know if I've got the confidence to do what I really want to do? What would you say?
Oh, it's a huge question.
Sorry.
Because no, it's a good question. Because confidence doesn't look the same for everybody. And I think sometimes we see confident people, or people who are out there and they're talking and they're doing this and they're putting themselves forward, and we think, oh, they're so confident. I wish I was like them. But they may not be confident at all. Sometimes people's behavior doesn't always mean that they're confident. So even though you may be a quiet person who doesn't put their hand up or doesn't put themselves forward, it doesn't mean you're not confident. It's all about deciding what you want to do with your confidence. So for me, I was never that kid that put themselves forward for things. And it took me a while, but I realized that I was confident about the stories I could tell. I knew that my stories were important, and I was confident about that. So I think confidence, we are all confident. We just need to decide and figure out how we're going to use it. Because you don't have to be a big, confident person that loves to speak in front of people. That's not for everybody. That just might not fit your personality. So if you want to tell stories, be confident in the stories you tell, whether that's writing them or drawing them or just telling them. Share who you are, be confident in who you are as a person, and don't change for others. I think confidence can come from there. So I hope that feels a bit complicated the way I've just answered that, but I hope that it makes a bit of sense to you. It's about being confident about who you are as a person, rather than what that looks like on the outside.
No, I really love that. And I think what I've heard there just is that if you or I could go back and talk to our younger selves in primary school, I think it's like I would sit next to my younger self and say exactly that. It's okay that you're a quiet one. I was sort of Catherine back then, I'm Cat now, but that is actually a level of confidence, because I like to talk to people quietly, just one to one, you know, because I wouldn't have been at the front of that. But that's a lovely thing that I now do, because I work one-to-one with people when they're not feeling at their best. So it's kind of like, there's your gift. I think it's a little bit like, listen to that little voice that says, no, I've got something important, you know, that makes me who I am. And everyone has that kind of confidence somewhere that will be different for us all. I think that's what I've heard you say. Would that be about right? You know, we're
Oh,
all
yeah.
different. We all have a gift. It won't look the same as anybody else's because it's ours. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone comes along and says to you, "Oh, why are you wearing that?" or "Why are you talking like that?" That's how you talk. Are you confident? That's how I talk. What does it matter to you? It's about just being confident about who you are and the way you are and the choices that you make. You're not going to be for everybody, but that's not what it's about. It's about how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And we've come to the end of our time. Just thank you so much for those who have joined us live. Thank you for those who've watched back the recording. And I think we're going to end it there. I don't think there's anything else I need to say. We've asked all of the questions or answered all the questions, and it's been such a pleasure to have everyone on the call and to meet and hear your story. Kate, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a it's a joy to be here again.
We've got lots of comments saying thank you. What a lovely event. So thank you for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.